Hey everybody, before we jump into this week's episode, we've got an exciting announcement. We've got our second Journey Way event coming up. It's the Main Things Workshop.
Yeah, it's coming up Tuesday, August 4th from 6 to 8 at Northview Church here in Fargo. We'd love to have you join us.
Absolutely. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about what really matters most. We're going to be defining our core values, and we're also going to be talking about what does it look like to live them out in our everyday lives. And so this is going to be an interactive workshop where you get to really say, okay, what are the values that matter most to my family? And we're going to do this together in community. We're going to have some snacks and refreshments. It's going to be an amazing time together, and I'm excited. What are you most excited about, Megan?
Yeah, well, I'm excited for the community aspect of it, just to getting to hear everyone what they're going to value, what they're going to prioritize in the next season of their life. And so it's fun to just get to bounce ideas off of each other and get to know that you're doing it together. You're not alone in all of it.
Yeah, about 11 years ago, I sat down with a notebook and I was inspired to write out my own core values. And those values have stuck with me all these years. They've kind of made their way into our family. And so what I've learned is that by living according to values, it makes decisions easier. It allows you to stay true to who God has called you to be and what He's called you to do. And so I'm excited to help people unlock this, whether it's for themselves as individuals or for their family. So come to the Main Things Workshop. You can sign up today, stephenglosser.com/events, or you can go to the link in the description. But let's jump into today's episode. All right, everybody, we are back with another episode of the podcast. How are we doing, Megan?
Oh, well, I'm feeling a little sick a little bit. I know.
You've got your tea.
I do have my tea, but that's okay. I was going to say I'm doing really good, but that's just a lie. I'm not doing great.
We don't lie.
Yeah.
We don't lie on the Everyday Events podcast.
We're honest and authentic people. So
yeah.
How are you doing?
Better than you.
Yeah. That's good.
Sorry. No, I'm doing pretty good. I feel like health-wise, we're in a good spot. I don't know how much we've talked about our deck on the podcast, but we had some fixings of the deck that went backwards, and we've got those being fixed today. Mm-hmm. And so that's a good spot. Our deck is like our happy place in the summer, and we haven't been able to sit on it. And so we're very excited to move into that for the remainder of our summer.
That is the most mid-30s response I think you could have given anyone.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is, we've got a fire table and we've got some nice chairs, and our evenings after kids go to bed, when we don't want to watch a show, it's just the best place to hang out, to read. And so, but yeah, that is mid-30s answer for sure.
It's okay.
We set up the twinkle lights and we just have a good time out there.
It's a vibe. It's a whole experience, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel like you're a little negative on it there.
Sorry, I'm back. Okay, I
good.
missed the deck too. Okay.
Okay, good. Good. But yeah, what we're talking about today is actually kind of talking about, we're halfway through the summer. And I know for me, the 4th of July always kind of feels like that's where the hill goes back down. And I know it's probably not true when you look at a calendar, but that's just how it feels. And the way we front load our summer, with camps on the front end, and then I had a kind of unexpected trip in there, we feel like the summer is just starting in some ways. And so it's kind of caused me to reflect on, okay, there was things that when I started out the summer, we set out to do, or we made our bucket list, or we talked about, okay, what would be a great summer? Well, I think it's really important when you get to like this midway point to kind of check in, and not to say, wow, you suck, but like to go, okay, we aren't maybe where we thought we would be, or we're on track, and what do we need to do to continue? And we can kind of push those last month and a half. Okay, now we have less time, but what are the things that still matter most? And I think when we don't do this, we get to the end and then we didn't do any of it. Whereas right now there's still time where we can say, okay, there's still a month and a half. There's still time to kind of regroup a little bit. And so kind of what are your thoughts coming into the middle part of the summer? Like, are you in like the summer is almost done dread, or are you in the like, we're just getting started camp?
Yeah, I am all over the place, I think, with it. But I think, also the mid-summer checkpoint is also a good time to celebrate some wins, because there's stuff that you've done pretty well over the summer too, up to this point, hopefully. But for me personally, I feel like my summer's over now. I work at a church, and so it is like all hands on deck planning for the fall right now. And so as far as like where my mindset is, it's not even in summer mode anymore. But
That's hard. So you're kind of like your feet are in summer, but your
mhm.
head is in fall
Right.
already.
Yeah. Like I look ahead and I'm like, there's no more time, but in the summer. And so but I think that I still have a couple more weeks left where it makes me reprioritize work life boundaries and how am I going to check out after work and what am I going to do to make sure that I still live like where my feet are and not so in the future too. And a lot of my job, like planning events and stuff, is just always thinking about the future things that are coming up. And so I think that makes it hard to live in the present. But yeah, I think that this was really one of the hearts behind like the Slow Down Saturday event that we did, was like, let's get ahead of this a little bit so that you can make a plan, you can know what you want to do. And then this is like, how's the plan going? How's
Right.
it? I mean, there's, like you said, there's still time to do the things that you wanted to do or the things that you planned or to change things up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two people, listening. There's the person that has had an intentional summer and then they're kind of evaluating where they're at today. And there's other people that have been winging it and it didn't maybe, we talked about what would make the summer great and maybe they didn't implement any of that. And so now I think this is kind of a second chance. And this is something just about in life in general, is that we can give ourselves more second chances than we realize, because what ends up happening is that we typically will just move past something and then that's where the regret can kind of live.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you build in some pockets of kind of reflection and evaluation, it allows you to give yourself that second chance. So there's still a month and a half left of summer, and so even though like some of our work rhythms might shift into fall mode, even though some of our like the weather is still summer, the slowness of the community is still somewhat summer. Like the people even at the church, for instance, like they're still in summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so you guys are preparing for that coming season. But I do think that there's a way to kind of figure out, okay, here's the time I have left. What matters the most? So at the beginning of the summer, there's really like 12 weeks that we kind of say, okay, there's 12 weeks. What would make these 12 weeks memorable, meaningful, great? Well, now maybe it's 4 weeks or 3 weeks, but I think the same principles apply.
Mm-hmm.
And so before we kind of jump into that conversation a little bit more, I do want to do some celebration anticipation, because I think that that's a big part of how do we kind of evaluate is, well, what is been going good, and then what is something that I'm looking forward to. So
Mm-hmm.
I can start. What did we do last time? Did you celebrate or anticipate?
I anticipated. You celebrated hanging with Steve at your slumber party.
No, I anticipated hanging with Steve.
Oh, never mind.
So do I just celebrate that?
You could probably give him a shout out.
I got to have a slumber party, as Megan likes to refer to. No, I stayed with Steve Pavic, and he's my best friend, and it was fantastic. We stayed up till like 1:30 every night, which probably wasn't the best decision, but we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was great. I'm also celebrating the deck. That's just
Praise God.
because, yeah, it's like we took off over the past weekend. I took off all the railings and we replaced a bunch of boards. And so that was like the prep. And now, which felt good to like do something like myself, like I had a drill in my hand. But then we hired somebody to do the deck railings, and very glad we did because it looks great, and
Mm-hmm.
he's done it way faster than I would have
Mm-hmm.
with friends. So
Good.
yeah, what about you? What are you anticipating?
Yeah, in 2 weeks, next Saturday, I'm hanging out with some friends. We're going to see Wicked, but not in a movie theater, as a play. And so in the cities.
Here, oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. It's just
I know there's some good. I don't want to, rain on the Fargo Moorhead play
Mhm.
community, because I know there's some good stuff.
Yeah. So
But Minneapolis.
we're doing a little road trip to the cities and
Okay.
spending the night down there, all the things. But yeah, we're gonna just go have fun. It's like this random, not a random now, but it was a group of people that we just love like musicals and things like that. So
Yep.
we've been watching musicals together for like the last year, and then we're like, we should go see one, like actually
That's
make the
awesome.
trip. So it'll be really fun. I'm excited. So that's in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Hmm.
See, look at all the things you're looking forward to this summer.
Yeah. Well, I think like as we were talking, anticipation, really the heart behind it is that it's not something that's months and months away. You know,
Yeah.
it's what are you anticipating in your normal life right now? And I think that sometimes breaks the cycle that we have of like we have to wait for something
Right.
big to happen. Like there's something to anticipate today, right now, whatever you're doing today or whatever your plans are, or next week, or you know, whatever that is. It's like it's closer. Hopefully it's closer than you think, and if it's not, then you can plan something to look forward to.
Well, yeah, I mean, the norm for anticipation is we put these things out so far, where it's a vacation at the end of the school year, or it's Christmas break, or and then we just kind of like exist or endure the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the time. And so anticipation really does kind of set us up for that more constant um expectation of there's good in my life now, and
Mm-hmm.
there's good in my life soon. And so I think it's just a way to kind of even think through the rest of the summer. And so what we're going to do right now is just kind of open up the conversation between
Yeah.
Megan and I. No, but I want you to be thinking, listening about like, okay, here is where I'm at. So the question is that we always kind of start is the you are here. This pin in the map. And so um I'll go first a little bit because I'm not going to throw you under the bus. And
Thank you.
sometimes we accidentally go into therapist mode on the podcast, and we need to not do that. And so, but really though, the biggest part for me is I can't get to where I'm going and want to go if I don't know where I'm at. And so for me this summer, like in a lot of ways, we had kind of expected the front end to be busy. And so as we kind of turn this page, this is kind of where we're like, okay, we're going to be more present. We had one thing that was different in the sense that at the beginning of the summer, I wasn't planning on doing this trip to Arizona that I just took, but it was a good practice in what we're going to be doing at Main Things Workshop of like what is most important, using your values to make decisions. And it was a new ministry role opportunity that just felt like if I didn't go, it would be hurting other people, including myself and what I need for this position. And so, although family is obviously more important, it was a great opportunity for us to recognize and to like list out, okay, these are our values, people driven and ministry, like these things are part of who we are. um, is this something that we make a decision, not over the family, but like, is our family in a good spot for me to make this decision? And
Mm-hmm.
we just got really intentional about how we spent the time before and after. I cut the trip down by one day just to make it a little bit more manageable. Not that we're in a great season with kids where it's not like Taylor is just like sinking when I'm gone or I'm sinking when she's gone. They make their own breakfast now. It's fantastic. But it's just like I want to spend time with them. Um, and so that was one kind of like wrinkle. But as I kind of move into the rest of the summer, we made the bucket list with our kids, and I feel a little overwhelmed right now. Like the bucket list has a lot of unmarked check boxes. And so I'm kind of in the place of like, did we bite off more than we can chew, or can we prioritize these things? And so I feel like summer has kind of raced by, but I feel like we have made the most of the times that we knew we would have. So for us, going through our whole summer and putting the whole 12 weeks and then circling certain weekends that we knew we'd all be present and available together, that was a game changer. Like this past weekend, we went to Island Park. We hung out with our best friends, which were both on the bucket list. And so even though we only had the one weekend out of what would be four, this weekend was huge. So I feel like that. I feel grateful and a little bit overwhelmed in the sense of like, okay, but there's like that pressure that I don't think our kids have that pressure of like, we need to do all of it or else it's a terrible summer.
Mm-hmm.
I've put that on myself a little bit of like, I want them to have a great experience with the summer and want to do all the things. So that's a little bit of where I'm at. Like, where are
Mm-hmm.
you at?
Mm-hmm. That's good. I I think I'm doing good. I feel like I have a lot of fun things that have happened this summer. And like my brother got engaged, which is so fun.
Yeah.
I haven't celebrated that yet, but that's been really
He
fun.
also started
He
his
started
coffee cart.
Yes, he started a coffee cart at the Red River Market. Everybody come check it out. Day and Night Coffee Co.
Day-night coffee. I heard they sold a lot of coffees on Saturday.
It was insane. They had a line before 10 and you can't serve till 10, and the last person they served was at 1:50. So they had 10 minutes until the market closed. And so it was just crazy.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was awesome. So it's been really full of really good things. Which has been fun. It's just been a fun season of friends and family and just all the things that are happening in my life. But on top of that, it's been a summer of almost zero rest. And so that's been just interesting to navigate of like, how do I figure this out? Because I'm not getting less on my calendar with planning weddings and things like that now. So it's, but it's been good to try and figure it out. And I think like this midsummer checkpoint is good, especially thinking about, okay, how do you want to end the summer and how do you want to keep going? And it kind of gives you, I feel like, an off ramp if you want it, of like, are there some habits that aren't working? Are there some things that you're doing that you could have better boundaries in or something like that? I think that waiting until the end of the summer would be worse for me, because then I think I'm on a track right now. I'm going so fast that I would just keep going if someone didn't force me to pause for a second to check in. And I think some people maybe can relate to that too, of like, you just kind of get in a headspace where, well, my calendar's full, so just keep going every day. You just kind of go through the motions of it. But it really is, there's a lot of value in stopping and just making sure that you're moving in the directions of the right things that you want to be.
Yeah. I think just that's really good though, because again, that's why we're doing this conversation when we're doing it, because there is this possibility of kind of just continuing in. And what rhythms are is that we get into them and then they kind of do the work for us. And so when we have healthy rhythms, that works in our favor. And when we have unhealthy rhythms, or when things get a little off kilter, that also works against us, because now we're in this like mode, in this groove. And so, yeah, I think beyond the you are here, we always talk about true north of where we're going, and whatever meaningful summer looks like to you, I want people to think about that. If you haven't taken time, this is still a great time to say, okay, whatever the end of summer is for your world. So if you have kids, obviously school is a big part of that. Labor Day for some people is just a natural kind of like turning point where it feels like everything moves into fall mode. And so whatever that is for you, like what would make this last 5, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, meaningful? And that answer is unique to all of us. And I think though, without answering that question, we get into a lot of trouble. So for us, having front loaded our summer, like we've by design, we have 2 weddings this summer and they're good friends. So we're really looking forward to those weddings. But outside of those weddings, like I think all 4 of our weekends are relatively open. And so now it's like going to our bucket list and the things that we hoped to do this summer, and now we're actually plugging them in. Okay, when are we going? We had a little bit of a snag because we had the Medora musical, and then it got rained out, and you can't control that. So it's like we have to reschedule that one, and so we've got that on our calendar. And so it's been, for us, like the overwhelm goes down like as soon as I actually plug one of those things into a calendar, because if I just look at the unmarked check boxes, I can get really overwhelmed because it's like, oh man, we have a lot to do. But then when we start to think like, when do we want to do the Twins game? When do we want to do, me and Summer are going to go to a Redhawks game. Taylor and Kinsley have like a one-on-one date. So those are weeknights. So then when we plug them in, it's just like, okay, we at least know it's coming. And so I think that's a part of it. But you brought up a good point of sometimes we have to unbucket list of like, okay, now what's on this list that isn't realistic anymore, or that isn't going to help me have the meaningful summer I'd hoped for.
Mm-hmm.
There's maybe something on there that would have been great, but now it's just not the time. Well, now is the time, by unloading that it'll be one less thing that you don't have to like look at and be like, oh, I didn't do it. Because right now you realize like I can't do it. And so maybe talk about that of just like, how do we evaluate the things that aren't gonna meet that goal anymore? That whether it's because they're unrealistic or when we really think about it, they're just not as center of the target as we thought they would be.
Yeah, well, it makes me think. So, one of my goals for the summer when I first started was to read 5 books. I had them picked out. They were like, what do you call them? Personal development books. And so they were great. I was excited to read them. I haven't started a single one, and it's now the middle of summer. So, like, for me, I can look at that goal and feel very frustrated and be like, "Ugh, I didn't even do it." And my personality would be like, I'm going to finish all 5 by Labor Day. Like, I would buckle in. But I know that that's not actually helpful. That's not going to be restful for me. That's going to stress me out. And you just have to, like, reframe the win a little bit. And so if you can figure out, like, the win is that I read and that I'm, like, growing in something. And so if I just start one of the books, you know, for me that's reframing to, okay, I'm, like, still moving. I don't know if, like, you guys feel this that are listening, but I get stuck in, like, this is for this season and this season only, and then I have a hard time, like, moving things into the next season and be like, well, I meant to read those then, or I meant to do it in the summer, and I have a hard time, like, rescheduling to future things. But reframing, I think, what your goal is, like, the goal is to read, the goal is to grow, the goal is to start working out. It's not to, you know, I don't know, get into the best shape of your life and be able to run a triathlon or something, but it's just a start. And so if you can, like, get it down to more bite-sized chunks, I think that's helpful.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to read all 5 of those books, you could cross those off, and the feeling you'd probably get at the end of the summer, it wouldn't be like that was a meaningful summer. You know, you just bypassed other opportunities, people, you know, relational things or community things to, like, finish these books obsessively. And so, like, that's why it's so important of, like, okay, now is there one that would, or 1 or 2? And then I love how you said, like, it's hard, but what actually can go into another season? And, you know, that's probably one of the next things we'll do with our bucket list is actually say, okay, like, if there's some of these things, what would go in the next one? And, like, for instance, it would be like, maybe it's the Twins game. Last fall I went to a Twins game with my brother. Tickets were cheaper, you know, we got to sit closer. Like, it was actually a really fun experience. And we went in Twins don't play much baseball in October, they're not good enough, but in September we went in September, and it was super fun to, like, go to a Twins game after that summer rhythm had kind of broken, and it, like, kind of was, it felt like we get a little bit more summer. And so I think there's ways that you can kind of take these things from one season and say, okay, yeah, we didn't do it this season, but I'm a huge proponent of, when it comes to goals and all these things, when we don't set them, we are far more likely to hit less of them than when we set them. So even if we had 10 things and we hit 5 of them, the reality is we'd probably have hit 2 to 3 of them without having set it. And so I just think moving into that mode at this point of summer too is like, okay, I have to unbucket list some things. I have to cross some things off. That doesn't mean that they're not for me. But that was something even with our kids when we were setting our bucket list, like, they had Slick City on there. They love going to Slick City at the slide park, but we kind of encourage them. We're like, that's something that we can do in the winter when it's cold. Like, what are the things that can only happen in summer? And so then they got their wheels turning of, like, okay, there's things that we can do inside anytime, and there's things that we can only do where we live 4 months, 5 months of the year. And so it kind of helped them reframe a little bit. And so, like, some of the books things, it's like, maybe I need something for my job or for my life that is really, you know, urgent or prevalent now, but the other one's like, no, the fall when it's candle season, candle and blankie season. I can just curl up with that book on a Saturday, and there's less plans outside, and so I think that's a great way to think about it. But one of the things that I really that's really been helpful to me is kind of the roadblocks part. So when we teach this on the proactive side on the front end, it's like, what roadblocks do you expect? Well, now we're in the place of like, what roadblocks have you encountered? And I think as much as it's so beneficial to kind of foreshadow and forecast, like, okay, I know I'm going to be tempted to be on my phone or watch TV at night, so those book goals might not get done. Well, now it's like, that wasn't the roadblock, but this was whether it's stress or whether it's something happened in my family that, I'm having phone calls with people in the evenings, or, there's always something that's maybe now stepped into that roadblock. So it's evaluating like, what has prevented me from maybe being where I thought I would be or where I should be, or whatever we want to say about that. And then talk about the risk of that roadblock. And so if this roadblock persists, if I don't do anything to remove this roadblock, go around this roadblock, as you know, our neighborhood is construction city. And so to get to our house is much different than it was before the summer. Well, there's still several ways to get to our house. We just need to remap it and reroute. And so I think by identifying the risk, though, it gives us that chance to say, like, what's at stake? And so, and this is, you can go through each of the things that you're maybe behind on or short on. So books, 5 books. What's the risk? Not much,
right.
Like maybe there's 1 or 2 that's like, I'm reading it with community and I'm not going to be a part of the community conversation. So I want to finish that book. But the real risk of that, there probably isn't a huge one other than just delayed growth, But when we go through that on everything, we're able to kind of say what's at stake. So let's walk through something in our lives. Maybe it's the books, or maybe it's something else. Like, is there another roadblock that you've kind of come across this summer?
The other roadblock, I think, is a great roadblock, but I talked about it, but my brother got engaged. Yeah. And so this was... yes.
Construction.
Yeah.
It's for the better of everybody. We all love it, but it changes things. Like, we're going to be so excited when our street is done, and when the new system at the school is done. It's going to be safer. It's going to be better. Right. But right now, it's changed how we orient with our house.
Yeah.
So I was just making sure everybody knows that weddings are great, and Megan is very excited about her brother's.
So I'm very excited. But yeah, so it was something I knew was coming, but then what comes with an engagement is an engagement party and a proposal, and now we're planning a event for all of our family to meet each other in August, and you have a bridal shower, you have a bachelorette, and the actual wedding, and all that stuff. And so it's a great roadblock that happened, but suddenly I lost 3 weekends of my summer, or reoriented 3 weekends of my summer. So it was interesting that like my summer is filled with really good things, but not something that you can say no to. Like, it's my brother, and so I'll be there for everything.
Nor do you want to say no.
Right.
And I think that's the part of some of these things, is that things change. Like same with my trip to Arizona. It's like, I didn't go out of obligation because I needed to do it for my job. It was like, I think that the greater good in this particular moment is this. And so, but it did alter 1 week of our summer, and so again, it's sometimes those things that are choices, sometimes it's not choices, but part of what we hurt ourselves in is when we don't take the time to realize, like, why am I happy and grieving, and like, this is just one of those cases where it's like those weekends represented something at one point. And so, so what's the risk, like, obviously this is a unique one in the sense that it's a good roadblock, but what's the risk that is kind of in play here?
Well, I think what I failed to do in this is I didn't reevaluate the rest of my schedule and the rest of the pockets. And so I left everything as is while also adding something huge into the schedule. And so the risk was now that I'm overbooked. I have multiple things happening on multiple, like, the same
Right.
days. And so that was like what ended up happening is now the risk is I'm really tired, and now I'm sick in the middle of July, probably because I'm tired and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So but I think the core values, like this whole idea of the workshop that we're doing, is so important because it helps you like reevaluate other things. Like, of course, my family is gonna take the top slot of a lot of things,
Yep.
but then you have to kind of run the filter back down the ladder of, okay, do I still have capacity for this thing, or is this the best yes for this because this yes had to take priority.
Yep.
And so I think sometimes we forget that. I think we also have a really hard time backing out on obligations that we committed to. I think I'm learning that it's not as big of a deal as I think it is all the time, like
Right.
to change things around or reschedule or just not go and say you're sorry, you know.
Well, I think that it's also a good case of, you know, healthy margin. Like, so even, you know, one of the things we talked about in the last, or in episode 24, was, is it okay if all of the things that are on your calendar is full, but all the things are good things? And I think part of that answer is, well, yeah. I mean, there is, if you can honestly say that these things are the best things and they're refreshing, and I still have energy to do what I'm supposed to do, all that stuff. But I think the one downfall of that is that there inevitably will be changes, misdirections,
Mm-hmm.
roadblocks. There inevitably will be. So I've already said yes to all the best things. Well, now a better best thing has
Mm-hmm.
presented itself, and I have zero space to fit it. And so I think there's levels to that as well. Of like, even though the schedule is full of good things, there still is benefit to margin. And so I think this is the best part about doing this midsummer check-in, is because we can also learn. We can learn a little bit too. For us, one of the roadblocks, it was an unexpected roadblock in the sense that our kids are night warriors and they just love staying up late, and there's so many things. It's light outside, whether it's neighbors are outside or we hang out with friends. So the amount of nights that we've stayed up till 9:30 or 10, when normally 8 o'clock is kind of our normal bedtime, has been way more than normal. And so that, one, leaves us way more tired at the end of the day. And then two, if we're, you know, keeping our kind of bedtime norms, and Taylor's been amazing getting up at 6 a.m. for the gym, or for 6 a.m. gym classes, we go to bed earlier. And so we've missed out on maybe some of that time of just me and her, or not even just like me and her, but some of the reading that I want to do this summer, some of the, um, you know, I'm moving into another writing season. And so some of that, those evenings, sometimes I like to use that for that. And so that's probably been a roadblock. The risk is, you know, I'm losing a pocket of kind of my writing time. I'm losing a pocket of my reading
Mm-hmm.
time, and I'm kind of losing a pocket of like our weekly marriage time. And I feel like we've rebounded that one just with the flexibility that I have of mornings. And but it's just the reality, like that roadblock. So what we do after that is the rhythms and routes. So
Mm-hmm.
what's the roadblock? What's the risk? What's at stake? And then what rhythm and route do I need to kind of redirect to get back on track? And so I would say that's the thing that I want to encourage people in, is once you go through that, like, we need to create those new rhythms. So whether that's, for me, I've just realized and recognized that for me, writing has to be a morning thing for the summer, because I just don't think that doing the evening is, because we're having fun with our family. Like, it's not like we are, oh, I just want these kids to be in bed.
Mm-hmm.
We've realized that it's a greater good. Like, it's been like, no, this is really fun time that we won't have in the fall. That's something that with school and everything else, it just isn't feasible. So the new rhythm though is I need to kind of reevaluate my mornings, and having reading time in the morning, having writing time in the morning. There's other maybe areas of life too. So think about yours for a second. Some of these weekends, some of these things that maybe aren't maybe in the pocket they are. What are the new rhythms and routes for you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that part of what I'm working on doing is going through the filter of everything else that's on my calendar for the rest of the summer and taking some things off, which is hard for me, but I think will be beneficial in the long run. And so, yeah, figuring out, and then also, like tomorrow, I took Thursday and Friday off work this week, and just to take 2 days actually, but, and so figuring out how can I build in margin while I'm in a very busy season. And sometimes that's using PTO, and that's saying like, I don't have a free Saturday or Sunday in a long time, so I gotta do something on a Friday or a Thursday. And so I'm figuring that out. I think that's my next best rhythm. And then as well, I think similarly, kind of what you talked about, but just figuring out like the morning routine, just with commitments and things. I have a lot of things in the mornings and the evenings, so figuring out to not like book things back to back, like not an evening and then a morning thing the next day, things like that. Yeah. So it's just reevaluating how can I like daily make it possible to keep going the rest of the summer.
Yeah. I'd say one big thing before the end of this episode is take a look at these last 6 weeks and what are 2 or 3 priorities. You know, if the summer, if you don't do any of the other things that you set out to do, but you did these 2 or 3, it would still be meaningful. Write those down and then do everything in your power. Schedule them, tell them to a friend, make sure that they happen, because that's where we're able to recognize that, one, I'm not human. I think that's a big part of these check-ins for me.
You're not human?
No, I am human. Okay. Sorry.
No,
I'm not immortal. I have a beginning and an end. Like I am limited. And when I come to this, and that's probably what I've developed or what I've realized the most over the last 15 years, because I'd started out, I was introduced to like the personal development, personal growth books, leadership development, and really fell in love. I was like, whoa, you can actually read something and apply these things and you can see results in your life. But I went way too far and that pendulum swung, and, you know, it was really part of what happened was I remember reading a book that it was like set 10 goals for each area of your life. And I remember just almost like washing out because I didn't do any of them. I was discouraged. And so one thing that I've realized is that embracing our limitations as followers of Jesus is one of the greatest things we can do, because one, it helps us depend on him. And I think that's one thing I don't want people to miss too in this episode is a meaningful summer isn't just doing fun things, bucket lists, all that stuff. Sometimes the most meaningful summer is that I feel connected to the source. And that's probably one of the things that I would pull back everything and say, what would it look like to end this summer saying like, man, I've spent some quality time in the presence of God. And I feel like I've found rest in him, even if I haven't had weekends at the lake or the things that maybe I like to think are the restful things. Like he is the most restful, you know? And so I think that's part of it too, is just helping people understand that connection to him and making space for him. When we say making room for the good things, like he is the best thing. And so making space for God in this summer, finding a way to fight for that is a big part of this as well.
Yeah. So good.
Hey, this was great. I'm excited. You know, as we continue the summer, the goal is to get Tay back on the podcast. I've got some guests that are around the corner here. And so excited to kind of continue these conversations. Always open to what do you want us to talk about? What are the topics front of mind for you when it comes to intentional living, faith, just living our ordinary lives? So that could be work, it could be relationships. And we'd love to incorporate those conversations as well. And so make sure you let us know. You can find us either in the comments on most of the podcast platforms or stevenglosser.com/podcast. Also, don't forget the Main Things workshop. It's something that is new, but it's something that I'm super excited. It's been life-changing for me, and really hope that as we introduce it to more people, that people can really walk away with knowing what matters most and knowing how to actually live in those things and prioritize those things. So August 4th, it's going to be a great time. More info in the bio description, wherever you find the bio, wherever you find it.
Yeah, we'd love to have you join us. We think it'll be so good and really ending your summer on such a high note too.
Absolutely. So subscribe, do all the things that help more people find this, share it with a friend, and we will hopefully see you real soon on the Everyday Adventure Podcast.